All right, so are you ready to really get prepped for that electrical mechanic interview? Because today, we're going to dive deep into some of the resources over on RoleCatcher to really help you make sure you nail this thing.
Absolutely.
They've got career guides. They've got practice interview questions and answers. They even have AI to help tailor your answers.
It's like having a whole toolbox.
It's like having a whole toolbox for your job search. So you're right. So you know going into this that you're going to be working on electrical and mechanical systems.
Right.
You're going to be basically keeping everything running smoothly, whether it's factory line or building systems.
Yeah, right.
Even, rides at an amusement park.
Keeping the world moving.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping the world moving. So let's get specific here. What are some of the questions that might come up in an interview that you really need to knock out of the park?
Well, I think one of the first things they're always going to ask is, what inspired you to become an electrical mechanic? It seems simple, but it's your chance to show them that you're actually passionate about the work.
Yeah, this is not the time to give some generic answer, right?
Right.
Really think about this. Did you tinker with electronics as a kid? Was there a specific project that sparked your interest?
That's a good point.
Think of a story that showcases your enthusiasm.
Yeah, because that's going to resonate a lot more than just saying, oh, I'm good with my hands.
Right.
I like to work with tools. The next one they're probably going to ask you is to describe your experience with electrical systems and components.
Okay, so for this one, you definitely don't want to just list things off, right?
No, you don't want to do a laundry list.
Really think about specific situations where you have used your skills.
Right.
And this is where the STAR method is your friend.
Absolutely.
So situation, task, action, result. So instead of just saying like, oh, I'm familiar with motors,
Right.
describe a specific time where you had to diagnose and fix a motor issue.
Yeah, give me an example.
And then you go through that. What was the situation? What was the task? What actions did you take? And then what was that positive result?
Yes. And quantify it. If you can talk about the voltage or the type of motor or whatever it is,
Yeah.
the details make it real.
Yeah, exactly. Because now you're painting a picture, right?
Yes.
Instead of just reciting facts. So speaking of action, safety is a huge deal in this field, right?
Huge.
So they're going to ask you about it, almost guaranteed. How would you answer this question? How do you ensure safety when working with electrical systems?
Well, this is where you really get to show them that you are a pro.
Yes.
Mention specific safety protocols that you follow. Talk about things like lockout procedures, the gear that you use. Show them that you don't mess around with electricity.
Yeah, and don't forget ongoing training as well, right? Because this industry is always changing. So staying up to date on the latest safety practices, it really just shows that you're serious.
It shows you're committed.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into the next question, which is about staying current with technology in general, right?
Right.
So how would you answer this question? How do you stay up to date with advancements in electrical mechanics technology?
This is your chance to shine as a lifelong learner.
Okay, I like that.
So you read trade publications, do you attend conferences, do you take any online courses? Whatever it is, give them specific examples that show that you are committed to growth.
And this ties into what we were talking about earlier with RoleCatcher's AI, right?
Yes.
Because it can actually scan job descriptions, and then it'll suggest specific skills to highlight based on what those employers are looking for.
That's right. So it's like AI tailoring your answers, but also tailoring your resume to the specific roles. So if the job is really emphasizing PLCs or something like that, then you'll know to showcase that.
Exactly. Okay, let's tackle another question. How do you approach complex electrical problems? This is basically asking you, what are your troubleshooting superpowers?
It is. Think of it like you're a detective.
Oh, I like that.
Right. You have a mystery to solve. This machine isn't working the way that it should be working. And so how would you walk them through that? How do you analyze the symptoms? How do you gather data? How do you test the components and start to narrow it down and figure out what's going on?
Yeah, because you're showing them that you're logical and methodical.
Right.
You're not just like randomly replacing parts and hoping for the best.
Right.
Let's say you're faced with a control panel that's intermittently malfunctioning. How would you approach that?
Well, first I would want to understand. What's the pattern of the malfunction? When does it happen? What are the symptoms? And then I would check the schematics and the wiring diagram.
Okay, good.
To understand the circuitry involved.
So you're not just jumping in blindly. You've got your plan, you're ready to tackle this. But then, things get even more interesting. Another machine breaks down, a deadline gets moved up. Suddenly you're juggling priorities, right? How would you answer this question? How do you manage your time and prioritize tasks when working on multiple projects?
This is about showing them that you can handle pressure, that you can stay organized. So talk about whatever your system is. Do you use a planner? Do you use a to-do list app? However you keep track of deadlines.
So what if you're in the middle of a routine maintenance check, and then all of a sudden you get an urgent call that a critical piece of equipment is down? How do you handle that?
That's when communication is key. So you immediately notify your supervisor about the new situation. You assess the urgency and the impact of both tasks.
Right.
Sometimes, you have to reprioritize on the fly, and clear communication helps everyone make informed decisions.
Right, you don't want to be making those decisions in a silo.
Right.
You got to keep people informed. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, and hopefully you're starting to get a sense of how to really approach these interview questions. But teamwork is another big aspect of being an electrical mechanic, right?
Absolutely.
So they're going to want to know, how do you handle those interpersonal dynamics?
For sure. And that's actually a perfect segue into the next set of questions we're going to be tackling in part 2.
Okay, great.
So stay tuned for more tips on how to showcase those teamwork skills and demonstrate your ability to handle even, the most challenging interview scenarios.
All right, sounds good. We will see you in part 2.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back.
We were just talking about teamwork,
Mm-hmm.
and a very common interview question is, how do you handle conflicts or disagreements with team members or stakeholders?
Yeah, because, everyone's got different opinions. Everyone has different ways of doing things.
Right.
So how do you navigate those choppy waters, especially when it comes to something as technical as electrical work?
Yeah, it's all about open communication, active listening, and finding common ground.
Right.
So you want to show them that you are a team player,
Yeah.
not somebody who just digs in their heels at the first sign of disagreement.
I can imagine a scenario where you've got 2 technicians and they have different ideas about the best way to wire a control panel.
Right.
And things could get pretty heated.
For sure.
So how would you advise someone to handle that kind of situation?
I would say first, take a breath, stay calm.
Yeah.
It's not about winning an argument.
Right.
It's about finding the best solution.
Yeah.
So encourage a respectful dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on the technical aspects,
Mm-hmm.
the safety considerations.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even bring in, the schematics to back up your point.
Right. Use that documentation.
Exactly.
And if you can't reach a consensus on your own, escalate it.
Yes.
Bring in a supervisor or lead,
Right. Yeah.
someone who can help mediate and make that final call.
Exactly.
Okay, now for a question that lets you really showcase your experience, can you describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a complex electrical issue?
Ooh, I like this one.
Yeah.
This is where that STAR method really shines.
Yes, it does.
So, paint a picture for the interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
Describe the situation, the complexity of the problem, the task that you had to accomplish,
Right.
and then walk them through your actions step by step.
It's like you're taking them behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Showing them your thought process, your diagnostic skills.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to get technical here. Mention specific tools or tests that you use.
Exactly. And then highlight the result.
Yes.
How did your actions lead to a successful resolution?
Mm-hmm.
Did you identify a faulty component? Did you rewire a circuit? Did you calibrate a sensor?
Yeah.
Make that impact clear.
And you can even add another layer of complexity here.
Yes.
If you can mention time constraints or limited resources.
Yes.
Maybe you had to improvise a solution on the fly or come up with a workaround because a specific part wasn't available. It shows that you're resourceful.
Resourcefulness is key.
Really is. Yeah, in any technical field.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about quality control.
Okay.
Another question you might encounter is, how do you ensure quality control when working on electrical projects?
And this one might seem straightforward on the surface.
Right.
But it's really a great opportunity to showcase your commitment to precision and professionalism.
Absolutely. Talk about your testing procedures, your attention to detail, how you double-check your work.
Mm-hmm.
Mentioning industry standards and
Yes.
safety regulations
Right.
shows them that you are not cutting corners.
Do you think it's appropriate to kind of touch on the ethical implications of quality control in an answer like this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it shows that you understand that quality work isn't just about meeting a deadline.
Right.
It's about safety and reliability and really, maintaining a high standard of professionalism.
And sometimes those things are in conflict.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely bring that up.
Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI tools.
Oh, yeah?
We
Okay.
talked about how it can tailor your resume,
Mm.
but did you know that it can actually help you practice your interview answers?
Yeah, it's like having a virtual coach in your pocket.
It is.
You can answer those common interview questions, get feedback on your responses, and you can even record yourself
Oh, wow.
to analyze like your body language and your tone.
That's fantastic.
That's a really cool tool.
I mean, it's such a valuable resource, especially if you get nervous in interviews
Mm-hmm.
or you're just not sure how you come across.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, let's dive into a couple more questions that might come up.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier about career advancement.
Yeah.
And, RoleCatcher's career guide actually highlights a lot of the different paths that are available.
Mm-hmm.
But how would you approach a question like, what are your long-term career goals?
That's a good one.
Yeah, you want to show them that you've thought about your future, that you have ambition. Do you see yourself specializing in a particular area, like automation or renewable energy systems?
Mm.
Maybe you want to move into a leadership role where you're supervising a team of technicians.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a concrete plan, just expressing that desire to continue learning and growing within the field shows them that you're invested
Yeah, I like that.
in your career.
What about the question, why should we hire you?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because that one can feel a little intimidating,
It can.
but it's really an opportunity to summarize your strengths.
Yeah. Think about what makes you stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your troubleshooting skills,
Mm-hmm.
your attention to detail,
Mm-hmm.
your ability to work independently or as part of a team, and tie it back to the specific requirements of the job?
So it's almost like your closing argument.
It is.
It's your chance to leave that lasting impression
Absolutely.
and really convince them that you're the right person for this job.
And this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful.
Okay, so
It can actually analyze your answer and provide you with suggestions for making them even stronger
wow.
and more impactful.
I like that.
Huh?
Okay, so we're getting close to wrapping up here, but we've got a few more key areas to cover.
Okay.
So when we come back in part 3, we'll dive into some final tips for acing your interview,
Sounds good.
including how to prepare those insightful questions to ask the interviewer.
Ooh, yes.
Because remember, it's a two-way street.
It is.
Stay tuned.
All right, so we've talked about your technical skills, your teamwork abilities, your troubleshooting superpowers, even your career goals.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but one thing that often gets overlooked is the importance of asking insightful questions during the interview.
Yeah, it's not just about them, grilling you.
Right.
It's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
Asking thoughtful questions shows that you're engaged, that you're curious, and that you've done your homework.
Exactly. It can also give you valuable insights into the company culture, the team dynamics, and the specific challenges of the role.
Yeah, for sure. So what kind of questions should you have up your sleeve?
Well, one approach is to ask about specific projects or initiatives that the company is working on.
Okay.
For example, you might say, I read about your company's commitment to sustainable manufacturing. Can you tell me more about how the electrical mechanics team is involved in those efforts?
Yeah, that shows that you've done your research
Exactly.
and that you're interested in their specific goals.
Yeah.
You could also ask about professional development opportunities.
Oh, that's a good one.
Something like, what kind of training or certification programs does the company offer to help electrical mechanics stay up to date with the latest technologies?
Right, because that shows them that you're thinking long term
Mm-hmm.
and you're eager to, grow your skills.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask about, the day-to-day realities of the job.
Right.
Like, for instance, you could say,
Yeah.
can you describe the typical workflow for an electrical mechanic on this team? What are the most common types of equipment that we'd be working on?
Yes, those practical questions can give you a much clearer picture of what it would actually be like to work there.
Yeah, instead of just kind of the high-level overview.
Exactly.
Now, remember, it's not just about the questions themselves.
Right.
It's also about how you ask them. Be confident, be enthusiastic, and show genuine interest.
Absolutely.
And take notes.
Yes.
It shows that you're paying attention and that you're taking the opportunity seriously.
Right now, before we wrap up, I want to reiterate the power of RoleCatcher's AI tools.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
From tailoring your resume to practicing your answers, their platform can really give you that extra edge in your job search.
It's like having a personal career coach
It is.
guiding you every step of the way.
And remember, confidence and preparation are your biggest assets going into any interview.
Yeah. Believe in yourself, showcase your skills and your experience, and let your passion for electrical mechanics shine through.
That's right.
Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into preparing for that electrical mechanic interview.
It's been a pleasure.
And best of luck out there.
Best of luck.